The Packers have lost 5 games in a row, this time to the last-place Lions. But that's not going to stop us from discussing the ups and downs from this battle in Detroit. We'll be looking ahead to the visiting Cowboys as well as sharing listener feedback from the die-hard Packers fans who are still watching despite the state of the green and gold. All this and more on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Welcome back to the Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. And podcasting since 2005, Wayne Henderson here, and I can't remember the last time I was borderline hopeless in regards to a Packers season.
Hey there, Packers faithful. I'm Scott Clark with the Gaming Outsider Podcast. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. This is the first time the Packers have lost 5 games in a row since 2008, which was Rodgers' first full season with the Packers. All we can hope for at this point is to win out and get a wild card, but I'm not getting my hopes up. This is episode 262 of your Packers Fan Podcast. We'll share some highlights and lowlights from the loss in Detroit, and then we'll preview next Sunday's huge Cowboys at Packers game, capped off with my keys to a Packers victory.
And as is tradition, we share more of your insightful listener feedback and, of course, the results from our weekly poll questions. So there were some highlights here and there throughout this game. Wow, what a game. Starting off with the leaders, Rodgers passing 23 of 43 for 291 yards and a touchdown, which really should have been like 3 or 4 of them. Rushing, Rodgers had 4 carries for 34 yards, and passing, Lazard had 4 catches for 87 yards and that touchdown.
And yes, you guys heard that right. Aaron Rodgers was the leading rusher.
Yes.
What is going on? Also, Rodgers, I thought was really shocking and interesting that Rodgers threw to 12 different targets this game, and that's counting David Bakhtiari, who was a target. Kind of crazy how normally I'm praising him for spreading the ball, but at this point I think he was just trying to see what would work. Kind of disappointing there, but started off with the opening defensive drive. It was a short kick. There was some poor tackling, but then they stopped the Lions on 4th and short after they marched down to the red zone in under 4 minutes. That was really good to see. I was like, hey, here we go. Stopping them. It was awesome. Unfortunately, things happened, which we'll get to in a bit, but that was really cool to see the opening drive, yeah?
That was, I will give you that. It was strange from the get-go in this particular game. Another highlight came in, I believe it was the third quarter, that touchdown pass to Lazard, 2nd and 3, 20 yards, and then we went for the 2-point conversion to try to keep up with the Lions and their 2-point conversion and failed.
Yeah. It's supposed to be highlights, Wayne. It's supposed to be highlights.
Oh, well, we tried a 2-point conversion, and we did get the touchdown.
We tried a 2-point conversion. Well, and it was so silly that we even needed to do that because I don't even remember what the penalty was when the Lions scored that allowed them to try from the 1-yard line instead of the 2-yard line, and that's why they went for the 2-point conversion. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. But on the positive side, we had a 47-yard pass to Lazard on 3rd and long that we talked about. It looks like he may have scored on this pass, but he was marked down on the 1-yard line, however. It was heartbreaking, especially because I got Lazard on my fantasy football team, and that was going to be glorious, but there you have it.
Scott, I just don't understand why we didn't challenge that play. I think there was enough evidence to show the tip of the ball being across the goal line when Lazard's knee actually went down. But I guess
it's possible. I think it would have still stood the way it was. However, I think in LaFleur's mind, why make the challenge when we're on the 1.5 yard line and there's no way we're not going to get in there?
Oh, yeah, there's no way.
4 first downs, and lo and behold, we did not get in there. This was one of the most interesting, low-scoring football games I've watched in a long time. There was so many weird things that happened, and that was, how many times was it back-to-back possessions that there's a 4th down stop in the red zone on both sides of the ball? That was kind of crazy to see.
That says something. And overall, I do think our defense played pretty well. I mean, if it weren't for all the defensive penalties, compounded by even more injuries, I think the defense would have been considered the best part of this game.
I mean, for once, the special teams didn't make any really stupid mistakes like we were doing all last season.
That's actually 2 weeks in a row. So that means special teams are on a roll.
Yeah. Kind of nuts. But so those were the highlights, even though they didn't sound like highlights very much. It's hard to speak positively about this game, but there definitely were lots of lowlights. First off, 3 heartbreaking interceptions. Very first drive, we had a great start to the drive. Rodgers threw the ball into the helmet of a defender. The ball went way up in the air. It was up for grabs, and it was intercepted by the Lions in the end zone. The second drive, next time they were in the red zone, Rodgers threw another pick in the end zone, this time to Bakhtiari, which was very bizarre play to me. Good heads-up play knowing that he was eligible, but what? To Bakhtiari.
What is going on out there?
Meanwhile, right before they did the play, they literally pulled Dillon off the field. When you're 4th and goal, why are you not running the ball? Just give it to him, pound it through. I understand that their run defense is their strong point at this, but why is it always going to be a pass? And then in the third quarter, we thought things were turning around with a Jair Alexander interception that put the Packers in scoring position again. Rodgers targeted Tunyon this time and was picked off one more time. Oh my goodness, this was so frustrating.
It almost seemed unreal. Like, there's no way this can possibly be happening, especially because during the pregame show, they put up the graphic of how great Aaron Rodgers has been in recent years against the Lions and no interceptions. And to borrow a phrase I've heard you yourself use on the podcast a few times over the years, Scott, it's just maddening. Just absolutely maddening. And as if our injury report was not big enough already, a lot of new injuries, some bad, some not. Eric Stokes, lower body, he was out for the rest of the game, might be back. Romeo Doubs, probable high ankle sprain on the very first play of the game, and he could be out 4 to 6 weeks, kind of unsure at this point. But again, I put a portion of the blame on the field turf. On real grass, there's a good chance that wouldn't have been an injury. So we are really going to miss Romeo Doubs because he was just getting into the groove. Even worse, Rashawn Gary likely out for the season with a torn ACL. Aaron Jones left the game with an ankle problem. Luke Tenuta, Rasheed Walker, Shamir Jean-Charles, Jonathan Ford, a whole bunch of players we don't even really know who they are. Devondre Campbell, we know him. The knee problem that's already been there from last week. Randall Cobb is still out. Jake Hansen, Tipa Galea is still on IR. By the third quarter, I didn't even recognize half the players wearing green and gold on either side of the ball. How about you?
Totally. It's just become an embarrassment of injuries. I don't even know who's Rodgers going to throw to anymore. Lazard is the new Adams, apparently, which is bizarre to me. There's just
next week when the actual injury report comes out, I think it's going to be 2 pages long this time.
Probably. Ugh. It really sucks. Also, I know I've been talking about this for a while, but I am getting so fed up with Rodgers just yelling and cussing and rolling his eyes. It's getting so old, and he even does it when it's clearly on him. All 3 of those interceptions this game were 100% on him. Nobody else's fault but him. And he admitted to one of them for sure. He actually talked to the defender after the game saying he gave him a gift. He threw a ball into the helmet of a defender. He threw a pass to Lazard when he was covered like crazy. And then shakes his head and rolls his eyes man, he totally messed that up. No, you messed it up, dude.
Yeah, I have not seen quite a tantrum like that from Rodgers in a while. And not to mention Aaron running the play clock down to the final seconds throughout the game. And I can understand that it does have its purpose, but not in the fourth quarter when we're behind by 2 scores and every single freaking second counts. Stop it.
Yeah.
Hike the ball.
Yeah. I mean, he had just given up. If you're doing that, you're just giving up. Meanwhile, watching Brady, last night.
Okay, let's go there briefly.
I mean, hurry up and doing this, and we'll get there. But also, it was a little frustrating to see, the second half closeout where we allowed the Lions to close with 8 points and no score from us. During the point after that, here's the penalty. Jair Alexander nearly blocked the ball, never touched it, and ran into the kicker's leg inadvertently. And Lions got the ball on the 1 yard line, opted for a 2-point conversion, and succeeded. I hate, that goose egg going into halftime. Even like a field goal would have made me feel a little bit better about that. So I don't know. All in all, lots and lots of lowlights, just very depressing. And the thing is like, if it weren't for those interceptions, like this game could have been ours very easily.
Right. And should have.
Just very, very depressing. But moving on, let's see what the listeners had to say, because all of these people that you're going to hear called in on our Packers Fan Podcast voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO. You can do the same thing, or you can also record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. Be sure this coming week to get your feedback right after the Packers and Cowboys game, and definitely include your guess for the final score of Thursday's Packers at Titans game. The deadline for that is 9 p.m. Eastern.
Sunday night. Let's see who was the first caller at 920-3PACK-GO.
Wayne Scott, Arthur, Texas. Well, just when you think you hit rock bottom with the Commanders, here come the Detroit Lions. It was an atrocious game. Atrocious. Aaron Rodgers had a horrible game. I mean, at least to the naked eye, he underthrew, he overthrew, he had he misread a few plays. Yeah, he did not have a good game. Yeah. So, like, they were like, at the inside the 20-yard line, and they had like 4 plays with like 2 or 3 timeouts, and all plays were passing plays. Like, come on. Like, they should have been aiming for the sidelines. Use your timeouts. Horrible play calling. Horrible. I don't know what's up with Christian Watson. I don't want to say he's made out of glass, but I mean, I hope he recovers and hopefully he'll come back strong next year. Prior to this game, I was looking at the schedule and I was like, man, you still have 2 games left. But after today, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, guys, but yeah, it don't look good. Might be looking at that, I don't know, first pick of the next draft. I mean, hopefully it's not that bad, but well, regardless, no matter what, I'm back. The Pack. Go Pack, go.
Thank you so much, Art, for your call. Hey, I'm feeling you, man. I'm feeling very similar to you are, dude. Don't feel bad about being a Debbie Downer. But yeah, I thought we had also had nowhere but up to go after losing to the Commanders, but here we are. And I'm with you. All passing plays on 4th and goal. Why is it always passing plays? We've got 2. Well, we had 2 at the beginning of this game, running backs, but you still got 1 solid running back that could punch it in there. I am getting so tired of passing plays on 4th and short or 3rd and short or whatever. Short yardage, and we just keep passing. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, like I said a week or 2 ago, okay, we'll let you throw the ball on 1st down, but when it's 2nd and 3rd and maybe even 4th, this is going to be a running play. Yeah. End of story. Anyway, Art, thank you so much for your call. Great points, and maybe there's nowhere else to go but up at this point.
Hey, Wayne and Scott, Jared in Colorado, wanting to call and give my feedback about not just the loss against the Lions today, but just, where I kind of see the team at in general. I mean, as far as the game itself, I feel like it's pretty much a rinse and repeat of what we've seen most of the season. Defense overall doing an amazing job to keep the team in the game. Offense can't stay on the field, meaning the defense gets gassed and they just don't have enough at the tank to try and, keep the Packers in the game to win it. Couple that with boneheaded penalties, questionable play calling. I mean, it's just the same circus over and over and over again. And I really think that where the team is at this point, it boils down to a few things. Number one, I want to focus on coaching. I really think so much of the Packers' struggles is truly on coaching. I mean, and I say that just from the standpoint of penalties. I mean, how many penalties per game is this team going to commit and expect to win games? But beyond that, they're not just any type of penalties. A lot of them are penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. This team has no discipline. Jair Alexander, 2 weeks in a row now, is getting chippy. He's mouthing off to other defenders. It's resulting in just really dumb penalties. And you're seeing that across the team. That shows me a lack of discipline. Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff do not have this team dialed in. They're not disciplined. They're making dumb mistakes. And when you're playing ball games and you're fighting yourselves on top of the other team, that's a problem. It really is. And beyond penalties, just basic fundamental football. You can't catch the ball. You're not holding on to the ball when you're coming down to the ground sometimes. I mean, I can go on, but that's my first point. I really do feel like, it's weird because the first few years of Matt LaFleur's, the team has been really disciplined. They've been really good to just stick to the fundamentals and make it work. But then on top of that, you have the play calling, which, last week's, we seemed to finally figure it out. It was a balanced attack. And then you get to this week and Aaron Rodgers just throwing hero ball, just throwing deep bombs down the field to just rookie receivers. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for him to realize he doesn't have Adams back there anymore. But man, that kind of leads me to the next point. Brian Gutekunst, I think his seat needs to start getting hot. I don't know how he looked at the wide receiver room going into this season, saw that every single starting wide receiver minus Cobb and Lazard, all their contracts are up at the same time, and you don't think you should do something about that? I mean, how? You have your whole room whose contracts are up at the same time, and it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, and that's translating on the field as well. He didn't plan ahead for the future, didn't plan ahead for that to happen. And now, we pretty much have no air attack. But I also think, and this goes to my third point, Aaron Rodgers, he loves to throw temper tantrums, especially today. I don't think I've ever seen him get as angry in a game as he did today. But I don't know what he expects the team to do when he's taking a contract that's just not leaving them with much else to do anything with. So I do recognize that, granted, Gutekunst doesn't have a lot of money to work with, for this season because of that contract. But again, he had years to look ahead and see that problem coming to fruition. So, I think it's multifaceted for sure. Players obviously need to be responsible. I mean, they're the ones playing the game at the end of the day. But, when the coaching is lacking, they're not disciplined. It's just unfortunate. I think the Packers at this point, I don't see us making the playoffs. I really don't. And I think going into this next season, they need to regroup, get back to fundamentals, get back to becoming a disciplined football team. And as far as personnel decisions, man, I don't know, but I'm getting really frustrated to see glaring needs at certain personnel position groups not getting fulfilled by Gutekunst. So that's my overall 2 cents. Hope you guys are having a good last quarter of the year. And despite my frustrations, I will still be excited to wear a Packers jersey every Sunday and watch my team play, because that's just the way it goes sometimes. So love you guys. Green and gold till I'm dead and cold. And let's see what the rest of the season has in the store.
Thank you so much for your call, Jared. Great to hear from you. Love you too. and so many great points in there. And yeah, the last part of this year is going well, just not for the Packers. A lot of our struggles due to coaching, and that brings on the bad penalties, unsportsmanlike conduct. And I didn't realize that there had been quite that many until Jared pointed them out. And I'm like, wow, we're really getting into a bad spot with those penalties.
Yeah, and even worse spot with the wide receiver situation, especially because of the injuries. And here's the thing: I'm actually with Jared quite a bit on Gutekunst being in the hot seat and all this. How did we not foresee this? And I understand the frustration that Aaron Rodgers has. Why are they not giving him these things? My bigger issue with that is the way that Rodgers is communicating that to the rest of the team. A good leader is one that, despite those above him making mistakes or making poor decisions, does not go and tell those below him about that or complain about that to the people below him. You just don't do it. And when he's rolling his eyes and doing all this garbage, that's exactly what you're doing. That would be like me being a manager of a staff somewhere and the upper management making these decisions that are stupid and then complaining about it to the people below him. No, you just do the best you can with the team that you've got. That's what Rodgers needs to be doing. Spoiler alert for one of my keys to victory.
I love a little bit of a spoiler tease here and there. And yeah, we had that balanced attack last week versus the Bills, and now we're back to hero ball. But it's good to hear.
Crazy.
Yes, absolutely. But it's good to hear Jared still representing the green and gold no matter what. We are Packers fans. We're going to watch all these games. Some of them are going to be entertaining, and some, unfortunately, might be a little like this. But
and we'll still be here, guys. We are not going anywhere either. So if you like listening to the show, even when the games are bad, we're still going to be here talking about it, dissecting, and hoping for the best.
Yes, putting as much of a positive spin on it as we can. And you alluded to earlier that you think there's a chance we might not even make the playoffs. We've got to make the playoffs so we get bonus episodes of the Packers Fan Podcast. Scott.
There you go.
If for no reason, then for that.
All right, this is Megan again. It really sucks not to be able to watch it live, because if you listen live and then try to watch it live, that is about 7 hours. And I am in the middle of the second quarter and just want to give some feedback before Wayne publishes a podcast. I'll probably finish the game, probably the rest of the first half tomorrow and then the rest of it the next day, which stinks, but it is what it is. Living in enemy territory. Anyways, okay, so the Lions made our defense look very silly on the first drive. I don't get, like, we were all the talk and the hype, the defense, and I don't know, whatever. Like Jamal had a really good run, and then whatever. We did end up stepping him on first down, so that is what it is. At the end of the day, that's what matters. Turn it over on downs, and then Aaron looked good. He really did, especially when you had people to throw to, and people who were catching it, and who were not getting hurt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes it seems like we couldn't catch a break, and I know some of it is within our control, and some is not in our control. But I do think that he looks good, and I think he's frustrated, and I don't know. At the end of the day, we couldn't finish, and I know 2 of the picks were deflected, but still, I know that probably killed morale, and then whatever. They're talking about Aaron wanting everything to be on his shoulders, and I understand why we have to potentially why we're going away from the run, because if there's no one in the O-line to block, then I guess you should throw it. But if Aaron wants it all to be relied, if Aaron wants to be a one-man team, go play golf. I don't know. It's a team sport. But either way, it sucks, but we're on the next one. I'll watch the rest of the game. Green and gold, dead and cold. Go Pack, go. Let's go, baby.
Go Pack, go indeed. Megan, thank you so much for your call. I don't know how you were able to do that, to listen to the game and then go back and watch it after. I could never do that. I mean, even if it was if it wasn't a travesty of a game, I've listened to it. That's as live as I'm getting. If I'm not watching the game live, it's not happening. I'm listening or something. But kudos to you for being able to do it. But that is a lot of football, one game in one day. So you mentioned that Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good at points. I didn't see them. I mean, there's the one that, to Lazard. That was a pretty good pass, but maybe I'm just being jaded here. But it just felt to me like most of the passes were off. Last week, it was the receivers. The receivers were dropping passes left and right. He was hitting them in the right spots. This week, he was off more than he was on. This is not the Aaron Rodgers of MVP status from the past 2 seasons. And it's frustrating to see. And I know I'm getting a lot of flack from non-Packers fans. And I don't mean just Bears fans, just fans of any other team that are saying, we're throwing Rodgers under the bus. No, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I just know that he's making mistakes, and I know that he's not being an effective leader. And does he have a right to be frustrated? Yes, he's got a right to be frustrated. But it needs to be handled better. And I think he's handling it poorly.
And there you have it. Megan, great to hear from you. And yes, green and gold, till dead and cold. Win or lose, we're Packers fans.
What the hell's going on out here? Hey, interference! Interference! I'll tell you something, Leroy. You're not going to get your job back unless we get a better performance.
The men who wanted to stay, they're still here. And let me tell you this, Green Bay is a great town for football.
Indeed, Green Bay is a great town for football, but not this season, unfortunately. Our season is hanging by a thread. Captain Pack Sparrow doesn't have a whole lot of cut in his jib right now. I don't know what's going on. This team seems so disjointed. There seems to be no chemistry. The players are getting frustrated, and it's showing with the penalties, the dropped passes, the routes that aren't run correctly. There's so much frustration on this team because they want to do better. And like Vince said, the players that want to be here, they're going to stay here. And the players that don't, it's time to send them down the road. I know Wayne and Scott and the other listeners are going to probably cover everything else that happened in the game. So I want to address something else. The salary cap. It's not looking good, but right now we're looking at the 8th pick in the draft, which is a good thing because we should be able to get a good marquee player just like we did this year with Dubs and Watson, even though Watson seems to be a China doll. But projections for next year's salary cap, they see it to increase to $208 million. Now, many would say to cut Bakhtiari, and I was one of those until I started looking into the financials. His dead cap space, if he were to be cut, traded, or retire, would be $23.1 million. That means take away $23 million away from $208 million, even though you're not getting the services of that player. Same thing goes, well, let me go back here too. And this is for a player that has only played 19 games out of a possible 42 regular season games. And now let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. If he retires, gets traded, or is cut, he will be a $31.6 million dead cap space hit in the next season. And in 2024 would be $40.7 million. Doing the math just for next season alone, that would only leave $151 million for the other 51 players on the roster. Those 2 players alone account for 26% of the Packers salary cap. Those 2 players alone really they really kneecapped the team. Not looking like team players when you're looking at it that way, especially since I know Aaron Rodgers makes more money in endorsements than he does on the field. I don't like it, but we're pretty much stuck with him for the next year or two. There's no other 2 ways to look about it. And I don't think his quality of play is really diminished. I think what we're seeing right now is his thumb injury affecting his throwing ability, because he's throwing behind his receivers. He's underthrowing his receivers. And with all the rookie wide receivers and tight ends we have this year, they're not able to adjust to the difference in his throws. They haven't learned it yet. The timing's not there. But anyways, I don't want to go drone on and on too long about all this, but buckle up, Packer fans. This is when the stuff hits the fan here. Yesterday was an absolute scatastrophe, and I expect to see more of the same over the coming next few weeks. We're not going to lose outright for the rest of the season. We're going to win a couple of games here and there. We're going to even have some maybe unexpected wins, because the Packer faithful always show up, and our team always draws a lot of energy from its fans. And I know for sure that there should be at least one more game that Captain Pack Sparrow will get to. Hopefully it's against the Monday Night Football game against the Rams in December. We time will tell. Never lose faith. We may be going through a dark patch right here, but never lose faith. Bleed green and gold till you're dead and cold. That's all I got to say. Go, 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 Pack, go!
Nice. Dan Dyler, Pack Sparrow, changing it up with the Go Pack Goes there at the end. It's like a symphony of Go Pack Goes. Excellent message. Thanks for sending that in. And yeah, Vince Lombardi said it best. The players that want to be here will still be here, Scott.
Yeah, it goes for the fans too. The fans that still want to be there will still be there. And yeah, I will forever be a fan of the Packers, even when they're doing poorly. And let's be honest, we've been spoiled for multiple decades.
It's true.
I mean, we've had some rough years here and there, but even those, it was not as painful as it has been this season so far, and we're not even halfway through it yet. We have been long overdue for being not, in contention. It's time. I'm not happy about it, but we've been spoiled for long enough that I'm accepting of it. Hopefully, we can do some rebuilding and regrowing. But yeah, it's our time, man.
But that certainly doesn't mean that we're going to be substandard for years to come. It could just be this particular year, and things are going to turn around. Like Dan said, we're not going to lose all the rest of the games this season just because we've lost 5 in a row. Our team's going to get some more home games. The Packer faithful will lift them up as much as they possibly can. And I thought Dan made a great point about the Aaron Rodgers thumb injury. Why is he still out there playing with that thumb injury?
I feel like we don't know enough about it. I mean, the commentators are always talking about it, and the camera's always zooming in on it. He kind of shakes it or holds it every once in a while, but
bad sign.
Unless I'm missing it, I'm not seeing any press on what's going on with his thumb and whether or not he should be playing. I don't know. I don't know that I agree with him saying the phrase, "We may be stuck with Rodgers for another year or two." Again, this game was Rodgers the problem? Yes. Rodgers is still an incredible athlete. He is a top-tier quarterback. I am not suggesting that we throw him to the wolves, or I'm not suggesting that Jordan Love is the answer. That's not the case whatsoever. My issues are less to do with his play and more to do with his attitude. So I don't know if I would say stuck with Rodgers. That's like, stuck with a, multiple MVP winning quarterback. That's not stuck. There's a lot more issues going on than just Rodgers, and he's just the captain of the team, the one that we look to the most.
And at the same time, I think the quote unquote stuck with Rodgers might be mostly the financial side of things, because the numbers that Dan put together, if it's true that Bakhtiari and Rodgers are about 26% of the entire team's salary, that does kind of handicap you for a little while going forward. It's amazing we've done as well as we have. What do you think about the fact that potentially, unless things change, we could be getting the 8th pick in the NFL draft? When was the last time that happened? I think it was the first year that I went to go see the Packers at Lambeau Field in Favre's year that we went 4-12.
Yeah, it's kind of a sobering thought, but hey, whatever it takes to rebuild, right? I mean, that is just really sad to think about that. But hey, we got to look for the future, and it's not very often that those first round picks pan out like the way we want them to. It's usually the ones a little bit down the line that wind up being standouts. So I'm just going to kind of, hang my hat on that for a little while.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Man, we were so close. I could taste the victory. Darn it. But you know what? We are in free fall mode, so it was an entertaining game. They did put up a good fight. Rodgers is, I think Tom Brady has fooled us all into believing that he could play at a 40+, but it's clear his body is betraying him. His accuracy is no longer there. It feels like he's overthrown. I can't tell if it's the receivers or him, but it's just a mess. The offensive line isn't there. The running game is very inconsistent all of a sudden. I guess teams have figured out, we can't really pass the ball, so they're just stacking up against the run. The defense is getting worn down. It's just, it's frustrating to watch. But in the same breath, it's still exciting. It was a division game. It felt like, maybe we can pull it out, and who knows how our season goes. But, then reality bit us in the butt. But it was still, And, of course, I spent the day with family watching the Laker game. We lost that as well. It's been a sucky sports weekend altogether. I really don't know what to say. I just wanted to call in and show my support. I'm sure people aren't going to call it as much just because they're probably disappointed and like, the season's over. I don't really want to watch the games as much. But you know what? I still love the team. I still love the podcast. I'm always going to be a fan even when we stink. And we stink right now. But, that's the fun of it. That just makes the climb back up all that much more sweeter. So, shout out to the Packer faithful that are calling in every week. Great. I'm listening. Great calls, great voicemails, great podcasts. I'm just trying to stay positive despite it all. Love you guys. Andre in LA. Great and cold till I'm dead and cold as always. I'm losing my voice. Go, Pack, go! Yeah, baby! We stink this year!
Oh, Andre, I love that you brought the positive energy despite that horrific game. Always great to hear from you. Seriously, can't wait to meet you in person. It was really, really great. It put a smile on my face, a much-needed smile on my face. So, I liked his point about defenses realizing that we can't throw the ball, so they're just... preparing for the run, and maybe that's why the calls are being made that way, right? Maybe that's why we're passing as much as we are, because they're expecting us to run. Guys, guess what? We're not going to run. You can just don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
Oh wow, Scott.
It's we're not going to run. I have no faith that we're going to do anything with the running game, especially if Aaron Jones is injured. As much as I love Dylan, he's the power guy. He's not the run around the corner and juke guy. So we're not going to see any more of that happening. Rodgers is off, and I know I just talked about how he's not most of the problem. He's been much of the problem, especially this last week. But at what point do we hit the spot where we don't stand a chance to make the playoffs, and they decide to rest him for next year and start putting Love in just to see what happens? I mean, what do you do? Because do you want to risk injuring him? And, do we want to give him those weeks off to recover and then the off season to get back? I mean, if we lose one more game, if Dallas beats us, do we have a mathematical possibility of even making a wild card?
I think we would still mathematically have a shot. It may come to the point when we mathematically do not have a shot that that's when Aaron does get set down to recover. But I just wish he could be off right now, get the thumb healthy, and we could go from there and get everybody healthy. The latest I heard is Aaron Jones may still be able to play this coming week. His injury is not severe enough that it might make him miss a game. But it's so good for Andre. Thank you for bringing your patented level-headedness to the show. You're still a fan, and good point about the climb back up is going to be that much sweeter.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good positive outlook. I think between you and Wayne, I can't handle much more positivity right now.
Wow, Scott. Oh, my goodness. Now let's check in with our weekly poll in our Facebook group, which you can find at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod. Keeping it simple, Scott. Will this season get any better for the Pack? Yes, stay tuned. No, probably just more of the same, or no, it looks to get even worse.
It's going to get worse, man.
Worse?
Look at the
How can it be worse than 5 losses in a row?
Because we're going to get 6 losses in a row. And
spoilers.
Injuries. Yeah. Hey, you said you liked it. There's look at the injuries list, man. You said it in the low notes or whatever earlier. The low lights. We're playing players that we don't recognize because they're on the practice squad or they're the second and third string people that we just don't recognize because we don't know the depth of our team nearly as well because we're fans. We're not coaches. So unless we just get some guys that turn out to be superstars to fill in the gaps here, it's going to get worse. We played. I just don't see it getting any better. I'll see it being more of the same. It's going to get worse.
Let me loan you my rose-colored glasses, Scott.
All right, man.
Now, I'm not going to say definitively that it's going to get better. Stay tuned. I'm going to actually kind of cheat and go with 2 answers here. I think short term, it's going to be more of the same. It's not going to be worse, just more of the same. Mm-hmm. But although it might be too little too late, after our bye week, which is still a month away, after our bye week, I think we're going to be much better. And plus having 3 of those last 4 games at Lambeau Field, it's just going to be fantastic. But the votes that came in, 58% said, nah, it's probably just going to be more of the same. 32% of the voters said, no, it's going to get even worse. They're with you, Scott. But 10%, when you combine Twitter and Facebook, 10%, it's going to get better. So stay tuned.
We had some comments on the poll on our social media outlets as well. First off, Ben Rabine said, unfortunately, the more frustrated this team gets, the more mental errors we'll have. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it hasn't shown me much else. Don also commented and said, I can't imagine how it could be worse.
Oh, and I hope you don't have to find out, Don.
And that's where the Packers say, hold my beer.
No. And Dan Dyler says, I don't know how you go from being in Buffalo, in their house, to almost winning and face one of the top defenses and offenses and then have this just explosive diarrhea against the Lions. None of this makes sense. Words fail me, Dan says. I know what I think needs to change, but I'm not in the front office or the locker room. It's just simply nauseating to go from 2 NFC championship appearances in the last 3 years to this absolute embarrassment while only really losing Adams and MVS.
That's a good point. I'll bet Adams is feeling pretty good about himself right now. Yeah. I see what happens.
I don't know. The Raiders only have 2 wins, right?
That's true. We had some other great posts and comments unrelated to the poll question that were made in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group, which can be found at PackersCommunity.com. First off, Dan Dollar shared another fan's Twitter post about their conspiracy theory of how Packers management is currently running the team. So some good conversations happening on that one. Be sure to check that out for sure.
And then just for fun, I posted a bonus poll question because Obviously, this can't happen, but if it was possible, would you trade our week 14 bye week for maybe a week 10 or week 11 bye week? Check out the results in the comments in the Facebook group. Just a quick spoiler from it because it obviously can't happen. But somebody said, I'll trade our first round draft pick for an extra bye week.
Yeah, I would totally take that trade. Take it this week, get the week off and kind of shift it up. Yeah, I would totally do that. Also, there were some memes based on what the Packers didn't end up doing leading up to the last week's trade deadline. They do sting just a little bit, but they're still pretty funny. Gotta give props to whoever created those. Also, Dan shared a peek behind his research notebook he uses for his voice messages. Thanks for giving us an inside look, man. I'd say inside baseball, but this is football, so... But I appreciate you sharing nonetheless. I recommend checking that out. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Absolutely. And we got an email. Hey, Wayne and Scott, this is Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher from Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a horrible game we had. Oh, my goodness. Even CCR has lost the positivity. 3 interceptions and a missed 2-point conversion. Honestly, I think it's time to start Jordan Love and bench Rodgers. Another thing that killed us that we lost 8 more people due to injuries. This season is getting so upsetting for us Packers fans. Hopefully, we can do something against the Cowboys, but not going to hold our breath. Until next time, this is CCR saying, no matter what, go Pack go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold.
Also got an email from Michael James in Texas. He says, this team, front office to coaching to players, is an absolute mess. I believe that falls squarely on the front office. They construct the 53. I have absolutely zero faith they will hit on a top 10 draft pick. Not hating, just being realistic. Go Astros. Yes, congratulations to the Houston Astros for winning the World Series. I kind of tune out of baseball this time of season, but yeah. There you have it. As always, your calls, emails, comments, and support are so much a part of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you to each and every one of you that do contribute. Remember, you too can join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversation at packerscommunity.com.
All righty then. Your 3-6 Green Bay Packers are finally back at home at Lambeau for the Fox Game of the Week, hosting the fresh off their bye week 6-2 Dallas Cowboys Sunday, November 13th at 3:25 p.m. Central Time. The Packers lead this series, believe it or not, we do lead this series 20-17. The first time we ever played the Cowboys was exactly 62 years ago, November 13th, 1960, a 41-7 Packers victory. Scott, can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go indeed.
And of course, the most famous matchup between us and Dallas is also one of the most famous NFL games ever. Yep, the Ice Bowl. New Year's Eve, 1967, 5 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. That's minus 15 degrees Celsius. Bart Starr, quarterback sneak to steal the win. 21-17. Oh, what a beautiful game. Everybody that's been at that game, the Lambeau must have held 190,000 people that day. It's incredible. And this also surprising stat, we've won the last 3 meetings against the Cowboys, always scoring either 34 or 35 points. And all 3 of those games were played in Dallas. Can we keep the streak going?
Let's do it. Also, I had to bring up the divisional round during the 2014 season. I recommend going and watching a YouTube video of this if you could find it. I completely forgot about this, but towards the end of the game, Tony Romo threw a deep pass to Des Bryant on 4th and 2. The officials awarded the ball to Green Bay, however, claiming that Bryant didn't, quote, complete the process.
He didn't.
Green Bay wound up advancing. The Cowboys went home. And Cowboys fans are still bitter about that one to this day.
Yes, they are. So,
man, I watched that play multiple times. I honestly don't know. I don't know because I could see it going either way. Seriously, go watch it. I forgot about that too. Man, what a game!
That was a wild one. It truly was. So now that we're back at Lambeau Field, that means there's actual weather to talk about. The Sunday afternoon weather in Titletown, it's going to be mostly cloudy and around 34 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. which would be around 1.1 degrees Celsius, much warmer than the Ice Bowl, but would you now consider that to be chilly weather?
Oh, yeah, it's cold, but still we're above freezing.
So no problem at all. Wear a few layers, you're good to go.
That's shorts weather.
Okay, so Scott, are there any possible keys to a Packers victory this week, or should we try to guess what could be the Packers' key to losing this week? What do you got?
No, we're not going to do that. Still got keys to a Packers victory over the Cowboys. I got 3 strategies. Strategy number 1, it is time for Aaron Rodgers to step up and be a leader instead of a star MVP, because clearly he's lost that status this year without quality targets. I have no idea what's going on in practices or in the locker room. All I can judge is what I'm seeing on the field. And what I'm seeing is a lot of negative energy and even borderline condescension when his teammates do something well. Did you notice that, Wayne, when towards the beginning of the game?
No.
Receiver picked up a ball and he's like, "There you go. That's what you're supposed to do." It was
I didn't catch that.
Drove me crazy. I'm not suggesting he be happy with less than stellar play, but the eye rolling, yelling, and cursing, even though I get it, has to stop. Encourage your teammates without berating them. It's time to return to form where he was leading the team. I think we all miss those days in the camaraderie. Strategy number 2, take advantage and dominate the secondary. It looks like Dak Prescott will be returning after his early season injury. With that said, the Cowboys have a similar issue that the Packers do, lack of targets. Although the Packers' defense is far from perfect, they are number 8, at least prior to this game. They were number 8 in the league and number 1 against the passing game. That is actually accurate. If we're going to stand a chance here, it's going to be in containing those throws. Granted, that could be a little more difficult with Eric Stokes' status currently in question, but even without him, they're still very strong in the secondary and should capitalize on it this game. Lastly, the offensive line is going to be a very big key here. Especially after Prescott's injury, the Cowboys' strategy has been to focus on defense. Before heading into the bye week, the Cowboys have had 33 sacks so far this season, 21 of which came from just 4 players: Armstrong, Fowler, Parsons, and Lawrence. So get used to hearing these names on Sunday. Since it seems like no one is going to stop Aaron Rodgers from throwing the ball most of the time, he's going to need some time back there. If they don't focus on this aspect of the game, we're going to see Rodgers planted on the turf way more than we like to see. So definitely that O-line is going to be key. And there you have it.
Oh my, I will definitely keep my eye on these keys to victory, Scott. I'm just hoping that the fact that it's barely above freezing at kickoff will somehow give the Packers a little bit more of an edge.
Hopefully that cold weather, we love that cold weather for sure.
Yeah, it's no longer makes us invincible like 15, 20 years ago, but we'll take any help we can get. And since we both predicted the Packers were going to beat the Lions as far as our wager fun goes, and the Packers...
Boy, did I miscalculate that. I said it was going to be a high-scoring game. That was definitely not a high-scoring game. Whew.
Yeah, nobody gets any points this week. We all pick a victory. The listeners all picked a victory over the Lions, and we didn't have one, so... Yeah, it looks like currently it's still, I've got 3 wins. You've got 1. David Newman has 2 wins in the listener leader section, and Jay Walters, Alex Bartman, and Dan Dyler both have 1 win. So with that being said, Scott, what do we foresee for this week's Cowboys at Packers game at Lambeau Field? Let's hear your score prediction. Make me happy.
All right. Well, I know that some of our listeners are eagerly anticipating your prediction after the prediction from 2 weeks ago, but I hate to say it, Wayne, I'm picking the Cowboys. I think that this is going to be an absolute blowout. The return of Dak Prescott and the way that how frustrated the team is right now, I just don't think they stand a chance. I'm going to say Cowboys 24, Packers 13.
Wow. I'm not super happy.
I know you're not, but I'm a realist, man.
I'm a realist as well, and that's why I'm picking the Packers to win 21-20 at Lambeau Field.
All right, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for Green Bay to win this game, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not going to pick another Packers loss, at least not right now. No.
Well, not another 10 years. It took you 10 years to pick a loss, so we got to wait another 10 10 years for that to happen. But everybody out there, remember, when you call into our PFP voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO right after the Cowboys game, please be sure to include your Wager O Fun final score predictions for Thursday's game, Packers and Titans. Here are the predictions from the listeners for the Wager of Fun. Tyler Seaver says Cowboys 34, Packers 10. You thought mine was rough.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Don A says Cowboys 28, Packers 3.
Ouch.
Alex Bartman says Cowboys 35, Packers 17. David Newman says Cowboys 24, Packers 14. And Jay Walters, your only friend in this fight here so far, Wayne, says Packers 24, Cowboys 21.
All right. Jay, that's what I'm talking about. Go Pack Go. We'll see how that plays out. Can you believe that, it's the Fox NFL Game of the Week, but unfortunately the Rams are playing at the same time. So here in the LA market, we have to, it's not like the world champion Rams are doing that great this season, but I guess contracts. But we'll be watching it. Just won't be able to watch it with as much ease as we normally would. The NFC North, people keep talking about the Vikings running away with it. They're 7-1. The Packers are 3-6. The Bears are 3-6, and the Lions are 2-6. And sure, the Vikings do have a 4.5 game lead on us, but that's not going to last. We may or may not win the division, but the Vikings choke every year. Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed.
I just love you. We may or may not win the division. Your optimism is just hilarious.
But when it comes to the playoffs, and on New Year's Day, when the Vikings come to Lambeau Field, and right now the weather forecast says it's going to be 12 degrees Fahrenheit, yeah, we're going to get revenge on those purple freaks.
Well, we had some other NFL happenings that caught our eye this week. First off, as much as I hate to talk positively about the Bears, but Justin Fields made NFL history yesterday, even though they lost the game. Justin Fields was 17 for 23, 123 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then get this, 15 rushes for 178 yards, including a touchdown. His total fantasy score for yesterday was 42.72 points, which is insane. He is officially holding the record for the most rushing yards by a quarterback in a regular season game in NFL history. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, impressive, but really what matters is wins and losses. Just ask the Packers.
Yeah, right. That's true. I got so much crap from Bears fans yesterday. I'm like, you guys didn't win either. Come on. Anyway, also speaking of Tom Brady, he hit a huge milestone yesterday. He's the first player to hit 100,000 passing yards in his career. Just to give you some perspective, the next closest is Drew Brees, who's obviously not playing anymore, and he's around 86,000. So Brady's still going. It's just insane to me, the numbers that guy's put up. Every number is nuts.
100,000 passing yards.
Yep.
He does have a lot of the records. I'll grant you that. But, nobody's going to get that Brett Favre record for 16-something years, never missing a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one that he has. And then looking around the rest of the NFL, as far as the bye weeks, this week, the teams on the bye will be the Ravens. So I need to adjust my fantasy teams. Cincinnati, New England, and the Jets. So,
all right, before we get out of here and say goodbye, I want to remind everybody about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. I literally just recorded a brand new episode right before this one, and it will be released on Thursday. This time around, Zach, Alyssa, and I are talking about which video games, hardware, or video game services that we would like to get into a time machine and go back and show our younger selves to blow their minds. It wound up being a really fun conversation. Highly recommend you check it out. You'll also hear Zach talk about the latest Call of Duty game. It's called Modern Warfare 2. And I got my hands on a brand new set of gaming earbuds that are pretty fantastic. And I can show you, Wayne, right there. They are right there.
Ooh, shiny.
They're awesome. I love playing with them. They sound fantastic. But if you'd like to check out the podcast, you can listen to it the same place you listen to this one, or you can go to our website, thegamingoutsider.com. As you guys all know, we have the value for value model here at the Packers Fan Podcast. And I want to say a personal thank you to all of our Patreon supporters of the show. We really do appreciate it. You can find details for Patreon and other ways to help out the show at packersfanpodcast.com/support. Many thanks and go Pack goes to longtime supporter of the Packers Fan Podcast at the Jim Ringo level, Mr. Dan Dyler. And channeling the current NFL MVP, pledging support of the PFP at the AR12 level. Thank you, and go Pack go to Jay Walters.
And we've got some great Brett Favre level supporters as well. Thank you, and go Pack go to Colm Nolan from Ireland, Scott Bowers, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, and Andre in LA. Also, go Pack goes and thank yous to our Curly Lambeau patrons, Hank Davis from the TPE Network, Joe Christensen, and Matt Haig. And if you two are interested in supporting the show and maybe even becoming a patron of the PFP, check out the details at packersfanpodcast.com/support.
We are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. But if you get a chance, please follow the Packers Fan Podcast where you listen to your podcast, and also tell a friend. We know there's way more Packers fans out there, and we'd love to hear from you and hopefully get you to listen to the show. So please tell somebody you know.
And thank you. And follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. Follow Scott on Twitter, GoCastScott. Follow me on Twitter at Wayne Henderson. And to help welcome the Pack and Packers fans back to Lambeau Field, it's Patreon supporter Dan Dyler.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is a Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack Go!